Is everyone that needs to be here?
You guys want to start?
Let's just get.
Yeah. Is Brianna ready for it?
Give me 1 second, I need to make sure I have the ballot, so I'll be right back.
You need the QR code?
Yes, I do.
There you go. That's just at round two.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay. All right, so let's call the case of the estate of AJ Maloney versus Teddy Mothersbaugh. Do we have appearances from the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon. My name is Meyer, and along with my co-counsel, Mr. Alan Lee. Good afternoon, Your Honor. And Ms. Jordan Howard.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
We represent the plaintiff in today's case, the estate of AJ Maloney, along with our party representative, Mr. Emerson Ray. Good afternoon. Would Your Honor like appearances from the defense?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Gabriel McPheeter, and I'm joined today by my co-counsel, Mr. Will Barrett. Your Honor, good afternoon. And Ms. Melody.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Together, we represent the defendant, Mr. Teddy Mothersbaugh.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
And Your Honor, after plaintiff has attended to their housekeeping matters, defense is due for.
Okay, any housekeeping?
Yes, Your Honor. First, we'd like to invoke Rule 602. You can start swearing in and sequestration of all witnesses, noting that our party representative, Mr. Ray John, will be here throughout.
Both party reps will be here talking.
Yes, Your Honor. And next, we can turn the court's attention to some relevant case law in today's matter. And I can summarize it for you if you like.
Let's do that.
So this case law is Martin v. Soto. This case just states that if the defense elects to pursue an affirmative defense of others, like we expect they will, a vital way to attack that affirmative defense is to show that injuries sustained by AJ Maloney were not proportional to the injuries sustained by the defendant. And we would just like to put the court on notice we intend to do just that in today's.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. Finally, before today's trial, both parties have met and agreed to an additional substantive stipulation that's not in that binder in front of you. We have further stipulated that the serpent mentioned throughout today's trial is in fact the defendant, Teddy Mothersbaugh, and we will be referencing it as.
Okay, sounds good to me. Anything else?
Not from us, Your Honor.
Just two matters, Your Honor. First, on that case law, Martin v. Soto, we just want to clarify for the court that the injuries between Mr. Mothersbaugh and Mr. AJ Maloney do not necessarily themselves have to be proportional, but rather that the injuries must be proportional to the danger of the threat. That is the language of that case law.
If there's an issue with that distinction that comes up during trial, just make an objection, but we'll handle it if it becomes relevant, okay?
Yes, Your Honor, and secondly, I'd like to direct the court's attention to a pretrial order 4, which just states that the conclusions of the expert witnesses in today's trial have already satisfied themselves.
Okay, great. Anything else before we get started?
That defense is ready for order.
Okay, neither of you asked for this, but just so you know, you don't need permission for anything. Just announce what you're doing for the record.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. With that, would the plaintiff open?
Yes.
All right. Oh, also, I will be your time keeper as well as your provider. Oh, so look up here for time. I got you.
It's a night like any other.
On July 20th, groups of people pack into a nightclub. Drinks are flowing, people are dancing. The night's good. But that night's not going to end well for everyone. Someone's going to end up in a coma. And it's not one of the patrons of that club, it's not the club's bartender. It's the club's bouncer, AJ Maloney. You're going to learn that at a point during the night, AJ Maloney had to remove a young woman from that club. She kept ending up in employee-only spaces, places she wasn't supposed to be in. So Mr. Maloney did her job and removed her. But you're going to learn somebody wasn't happy that Mr. Maloney was doing his shit. Because you're going to learn that moments after Mr. Maloney removes that young woman from his club, a vigilante, a man who believes he's above the law, a person who dons a mask to divvy out his form of justice, beats that bouncer within an inch of his life. That man, the one who calls himself the serpent, we call him something different. A criminal. The defendant, Teddy Mothersbaugh. Because even when that young woman was safe, the defendant didn't stop. Now I know, this sounds like something straight out of a comic. But the evidence that we're going to show you today will make it clear. This was anything but a work of fiction. That's why we brought a case against the defendant. And because we've chosen to do so, we have to prove two things to you, or more likely than not. First, that the defendant meant to harm that bodyguard, and that he followed through on the intent that he had. To prove those two facts to you by a preponderance of the evidence, we're going to ask you to focus on three different things. First, the defendant was the serpent. Second, that the serpent started the fight. And third, that the serpent went too far. So let's start with fact number one. The defendant was the serpent. That one's easy. The defendant will take the stand and admit to you himself that he's a serpent. So that moves us right to fact number two. The serpent started the fight. You're going to hear from a biomedical forensic scientist who conducted an investigation in today's case. He'll tell you that he can examine the wounds that people have and determine if they were gotten in a defensive action or an offensive action. That expert will tell you that when he reviewed the wounds of AJ Maloney, they were consistent with Mr. Maloney defending himself. He'll tell you that the serpent, not AJ Maloney, was the person who started that fight. And you're going to learn the serpent, he didn't just start that fight. That was the jury, he finished it. That brings us to fact number three. The serpent went too far. Multiple witnesses are going to take the stand and tell you that AJ Maloney ended up in a coma that night. But when the serpent decided to fight Mr. Maloney, he didn't decide to fight fair. He didn't decide to fight with his fists. When the serpent chose to confront Mr. Maloney, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a hammer. And by the time the serpent put that hammer down, Mr. Maloney was in a coma. He still sits in this very moment. Because when you fight like that, when you choose not to fight fair, members of the jury, you have to face the consequences. That's why at the end of today's trial, we're going to ask you to find the defendant guilty. Thank you.
Open.
Yes, sir.
Justice.
not malice. I want you to keep those two words in the back of your head throughout this trial, because you're going to hear them a lot. The defense, we're going to ask you to really think about what those two words mean. Because on July 20th of 2024, AJ Maloney runs out of the Hellfire Lounge, a mallet in his hand. But he's not running out by himself. No, he's chasing someone. A journalist named Ali Uchida. He follows Uchida into that alley, and when Uchida slips, can't run anymore, AJ Maloney begins to beat her within an inch of her own life. Now, eventually, AJ stops. But it's not because Ali Uchida was struggling to breathe. It's not because she was bleeding from everywhere on her body. It's because he was tackled. He was removed from Ali Uchida, sprawled on the floor by the Serpent, Tower City's own vigilante who's dedicated his life to fighting crime and corruption for years. And so those two begin to fight. Blow after blow, kick after punch, blood everywhere on the alley floor until eventually the Serpent wrestles the mallet from AJ's hand. And in one final swing, one final plea to put a stop to this, to save that woman's life, he hits her in the head. AJ Maloney, he won't get back up. But Ali Uchida, she leaves that alley on the shoulder of the Serpent, the only person in the city willing to help her. The defendant in this trial is a man named Teddy Mothersbaugh. And while you may know him as a businessman here in Tower City, one of the city's finest, he's more than that. He is the Serpent. He was the one that night who protected an innocent woman when no one else would. And it's because of that altercation that the estate of AJ Maloney has brought a lawsuit of civil battery against my client, Mr. Mothersbaugh. Now, we as the defense, we've taken on what's called an affirmative defense. An affirmative defense called the defense of another. Because the law in Murado is clear. If someone acts in the defense of another person, and the force they respond with is proportional to the threat at hand to that undefended person, well, then they can't be held liable for civil battery. And we're going to show you today that Mr. Mothersbaugh's response that night was not only proportional to the threat at hand, it may even have been less so. Because when he acted, he did so in defense, in protection, in justice, not in malice. The first witness you're going to hear from the defense today is a man named Leighton Gwilt. He's a forensic psychologist, the person who had been investigating the Hellfire Lounge for years, the person who was called to the scene the next morning to analyze the blood on the floor and the blood from AJ Maloney. And they're going to tell you about how the blood stains. Well, they indicate not two people fighting in an alley, but three. One person who would have been laying in one spot, not moving for minutes at a time. One person defenseless. And he's going to tell you how the science shows that when Mr. Mothersbaugh acted, he did so in defense, not out of malice. He's also going to tell you about something he found, a bag of hell dust, a synthetic drug found on AJ Maloney's person. And you won't be able to wonder, what if AJ Maloney was acting in a drug-induced rage, and Mr. Mothersbaugh's response was less than proportional? And then you're going to get the chance to hear from Mr. Mothersbaugh himself. Now, since he's the Serpent, a vigilante who acts on his own, he's going to explain to you why he does what he does, why he did what he did that night, why he didn't waste a second, didn't take a moment to think before he jumped down to save a woman's life. How when he fought AJ Maloney that night, he didn't do it with the intent to harm, he did it with the intent to protect. Thank you.
The plaintiff have voice to call.
Yes, Your Honor, plaintiff called Dr. Myers.
Dr. Myers, you're presumed sworn.
I'll be moving this stool, that's.
Okay. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon. Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Good afternoon, I'm Dr. Talbot Meyer.
What do you do for a living?
I'm the head of emergency in Dueck Memorial Hospital. That means that I oversee a series of critical patients that come into our ER. So anything from someone who might have fallen off a roof to a violent attack.
What qualifications do you need to be able to do that?
I received my bachelor's at SUNY Buffalo. I then went on to receive my medical degree at Johns Hopkins University. Since then, I have over 15 years of experience working in the ER, and I'm published in my field.
All right, doctors. How are you involved in today's case?
In July 20th of last year, 2 patients came into my ER, Ali Uchida and AJ Maloney, and I was the physician that treated both of them. And since then, I've been overseeing the care of AJ Maloney.
Do you have any records of those treatments?
Yes, I prepared 2 intake reports for both patients.
What do you use to fill out those forms?
I largely relied on my own observations from treating both of them. And I also conducted an injury pattern analysis using a mallet that was found at the scene.
Sufficient to come to your conclusions today?
Yes, this is standard in the field.
You reliably apply that method as you normally would.
Yes, I always do.
Would you recognize a copy of those forms shown to you today?
Of course,
You could flip your binder to exhibits 1 and 2. Tell us what they are.
sure. So exhibit 1 is the report of AJ Maloney, and exhibit 2 is the intake for Ali Uchida.
Fair and accurate.
Yes, they both are.
Plaintiff offers exhibits 1 and 2.
Is there any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
Maybe give the members of the jury a comment as well.
Yes, they're admitted, you may publish.
You exhibit 1. All right, doctor, I want to start with your treatment of Ali Uchida.
Sure.
What do you do?
So when Ali first arrived to the ER, they were unconscious. However, after they regained consciousness, I was able to perform a quick checkup on them.
What injuries did they have?
I noted minor injuries. There were some bruising, there were scratches, there was also a wrenched shoulder. There were no major injuries such as fractures, and so I believe that they were going to make a full recovery.
In that case, I'd like to compare Ali Uchida's injuries to the injuries of AJ Maloney. What condition was Mr. Maloney in when he got to the hospital?
Mr. Maloney was unconscious. They came in with a series of broken bones. There was severe blunt force trauma to the extremities of the head. There's bruising as well as critical internal pain.
Did you ever look at what could have caused those injuries?
Yes, when we receive a patient with such severe injuries, one of the first things we want to do is try to determine what could have possibly caused them. And so I was able to analyze a bloody mallet that was retrieved from the scene.
Your Honor, per stipulation 13, this is exhibit 7, it's already been. Doctor, is this that mallet?
Yes, it is, although the blood has been cleaned up.
Is it fair and accurate?
It is.
All right, well, can you tell us where on AJ Maloney's bodies those injuries were?
Well, actually, Mr. Lee, if I could have one of your colleagues come down, I could show you where they were.
Permission for the witness and Mr. Teff to step down for demonstration.
Just do it.
stand with your right side to me. Amazing. Now, if you guys want to follow along at the bottom of the section, it's noted injuries, and I'll show you where the fractures were. So when Mr. Maloney first came in, we noticed that there were unforced trauma to the head, the torso, and the extremities, which included the arms and the legs. We also noted that there were fractures along the right humerus. There was also a fracture along the midfoot on the left foot. And then we also found a clavicle fracture right around here. Now, Mr. Tech, if you could turn around. We also noted that there was severe bruising along the back and the cervical region, as well as the head.
What do you do to treat him with all of those injuries?
Well, we did everything we could to stabilize Mr. Maloney when he first came in, and while we were able to save his life, unfortunately, he fell into a coma and has not woken up since.
In that case, I want to see if we can figure out how he got those injuries.
Sure.
What can you tell us?
Well, I actually was able to analyze whether or not the injuries found on Mr. Maloney were consistent with someone who was defending themselves or acting as an aggressor in an attack.
Can you explain to us how you can determine that?
Of course. Now, I know you both are colleagues, but Mr. Teft, if you could kind of put your hands up as if you're blocking a blow. I'm gonna hand this to you. If you could pretend to hit Mr. Teft and put this right over here. So now we're going to use Mr. Lee as an example of an aggressor, right? When we're looking at someone who's an aggressor, we expect to see signs such as bruised knuckles, sprained fingers, and more front-facing trauma.
Were there signs that AJ Maloney had these things?
There was only one, and that was scratches on the forearm, but the other ones I mentioned, we found no signs of that on Mr. Maloney.
What about defensive behaviors?
Yes, so we'll use Mr. Teft as an example. So when we're looking for defensive behaviors, we're trying to find signs of someone who was potentially blocking a blow, such as this, right? So those signs would include fractures in the forearms or in the arms, dislocated shoulders, as well as more bruising in the back and the neck.
Did you see that on AJ Maloney?
Yes, all of those signs were consistent with the injuries that we found on Mr. Maloney's body.
You're getting a little tired. Are you done?
You can relax.
Okay. Mr. Tapp, you can take a seat. Thank you. May the witness retake the stand. All right, doctor, in your expert opinion, what can you conclude about the damage to AJ Maloney?
After everything I reviewed, I can conclude to a degree of scientific certainty that the injuries on Mr. Maloney's body were more consistent with someone who was defending themselves from an attack rather than someone who was an aggressor in an attack.
Thank you, doctor. We have nothing. Would opposing counsel like the ballot up?
Yes, they found school there.
Did you want exhibit 1 and 2?
If you can leave exhibit 1, please. Thank you. Good afternoon, Dr. Myers.
Good afternoon, how are you?
I'm doing well. My name is Gabriel Frank McPheter. I'm an attorney for Teddy Mothersbaugh, and I'll be asking a few more questions today, all right?
All right, great to meet you.
Let's start with a couple reasons why you might be testifying today. Let's start right over here. Right at the line. Emerson Rajon hired you
That
for
is,
today's structure.
that is correct.
For the past several years, Mr. Rajon has made substantial donations to the hospital that employs you.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Were it not for Mr. Rajon's donations, you think your hospital would close down.
Sure, I definitely think that's a possibility.
Without Mr. Rajon's donations, you lose your job as head physician.
Right, at that hospital.
Mr. Rajon, well, he also paid you $15,000 to prepare for your testimony.
That's correct. It's standard in my field.
Standard in your field, I should have gone into medicine, man, because you only prepared for 15 hours for today's case.
Yes, again, this is standard when preparing an extra report.
$1,000 an hour for you to testify.
Absolutely.
Let's move then to whether AJ Maloney's wounds might actually be consistent with him being the aggressor. Because ma'am, you just told us that, well, you found that Mr. Maloney's wounds were more consistent with defense.
That's correct. While we were examining the body, we did note that there was one sign of an aggressive behavior. However, we did not find any other signs other than scratches on the floor.
Let's talk about what signs you might have missed, because doctor, you agree that, well, identifying defensive wounds, it isn't an exact science.
That's right.
Sometimes a wound on a victim can look just like a wound on a victim.
Certainly.
Sometimes seeing an altercation while it happens can provide additional information that might change a conclusion.
Right, that's correct.
Doctor, you didn't get to see this altercation while it happened.
No, I was at the hospital. I only treated the patients after they arrived to the ER.
And you didn't get to review the scene after the fact.
No, I'm not an investigator.
So, doctor, you can't tell us if AJ Maloney may have sustained his injuries while he was already attacking Al Lucci.
No, I cannot.
However, you think that would explain Mr. Maloney's injuries.
It's certainly a possibility, though unlikely.
Hold on, you're telling us it's unlikely. Let's break down this possibility for the members of the jury. Let's say Miss Uchida was laying on the ground right here, following?
Sure.
Alright, now let's say AJ Maloney was on top of him, or on top of Miss Uchida with this hammer, hovering over her ready to strike. You'd agree, Miss Uchida, she'd be in danger, right?
I would agree.
But at this point though, Mr. Maloney, he might not have those bruised knuckles you're looking for if he hasn't swung yet, right?
Sure.
Might not have some of those offensive injuries you're telling us that you didn't find.
That is correct at that point.
But Miss Uchida, she'd still be in danger.
Sure, you could put it that way.
And at that point, you don't know, since you weren't at the scene of Teddy Mothersbaugh, then tackle AJ Maloney off of Miss Uchida, right?
Right, since I wasn't at the scene, it would be impossible for me to determine that. However, given the signs that we observed on the body, it's very unlikely that Mr. Maloney was the aggressor.
Ma'am, you keep telling us it's very unlikely. The scenario I just described, Teddy Mothersbaugh tackling AJ Maloney off of Ali Uchida, that would explain Mr. Maloney's injuries.
Right, I did not receive any information that suggested that, however.
Because you weren't there, but that scenario would explain Mr. Maloney's injuries.
Sure.
Let's move then to why Mr. Maloney may have been so aggressive that night. Your Honor, let the record reflect I am holding exhibit 1. And if you could turn to that, Dr. Myers.
Exhibit 1.
Yes, ma'am. You prepared this report, right?
I did. This was one of the reports I prepared along with the other patient that entered the ER.
Ma'am, it says here that you found something called hell dust on the patient's person.
That is correct.
Ma'am, you recognize this is that hell dust you found on AJ Maloney.
That's right.
Looks to be fair and accurate.
From what I remember, yes.
Your Honor, defense moves exhibit 8.
The objections.
None, Your Honor.
It's in.
Dr. Myers, this hell dust, it's a concoction of a few different drugs.
That is correct.
Drugs that you found in AJ Maloney's system.
Yes, after we conducted a lab evaluation, we did find a series of drugs in Mr. Maloney's system at the time.
Those drugs are MDMA,
That is correct. Includes cocaine, MDMA, and methamphetamines.
cocaine, MDMA, and methamphetamines. Doctor, you'd agree that mixing drugs can sometimes increase their strength.
Absolutely, it is very dangerous.
You'd agree that some drugs like coke or methamphetamine can make people more aggressive.
It's definitely a possibility, although it definitely depends on the person.
Doctor, those drugs that can make people more aggressive, you found them in AJ Maloney's system.
We did.
Let's move then to whether those drugs may also have made Mr. Maloney's injuries more severe. Because doctor, in this report, you're right. that the drugs detected in the bloodstream may have impacted neurological response and prognosis.
That's correct. We found that it was possible that the drugs might have reduced Mr. Maloney's ability to react. However, we also found that it was equally possible for the drugs to have had no effect whatsoever.
Well, I want to break that down for those of us that aren't doctors. You're telling us that it's equally possible that Mr. Maloney's wounds and his coma were made more severe by the drugs in his system.
That's correct. It's equally possible that they had an effect or that they did.
It's possible that it was those drugs, not AJ Maloney's injuries, led to his coma.
It's possible, but I can't make a conclusion as to that.
Equally possible as the injuries being involved.
That's right.
Thank you, Dr. Myers. No further questions, Your Honor.
Your redirect?
Madam Your Honor, we ask that Dr. Gates here.
Does the defense have a witness to call?
Yes, Your Honor, defense called Mr. Layton Will. Good afternoon. Can you please introduce yourself to the court?
Good afternoon. My name is Leighton Wilt.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Will?
Well, I'm a forensic scientist. I work at a private firm helping clients from police departments to individuals involved in civil cases like this one today.
How'd you get into that line of work?
Well, I studied chemistry and biology at Tufts before getting my master's in clinical or forensic science, rather, pardon me, at the University of Florida. I then began working as a CSI for a number of years, a crime scene investigator, before realizing it wasn't exactly like the TV shows. That's when I moved into private practice.
And how'd you get involved in today's case?
Well, I was approached by Teddy Mothersbaugh to analyze an alleged attack that had occurred on the night of July 20th. I actually had investigated that incident the morning after, so I was ready to jump right in.
Well, let's talk more about that morning. What'd you learn on the scene?
Well, I was working with the police department as a consultant on the morning of July 21st on a forensic investigation at the Hellfire Lounge, a nightclub right downtown a couple of blocks. When I was working with the police, we found that this attack that had allegedly occurred on July 20th was likely right outside the nightclub late in the evening before.
Had you heard of that nightclub, the Hellfire Lounge, before?
Actually, I had. For a number of years, I had worked with the police on a sting operation to uncover an alleged drug trafficking ring that was running from the inside of the club.
Did you find any drugs at the Hellfire Lounge?
We did. We found that they were selling this designer drug, a concoction.
Objection, Your Honor, under Rule 404, may be heard.
First, can both parties confirm the validity of objections allowed in this round, 4-4?
It's my understanding, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, let's hear it.
Your Honor, specifically the improper character evidence. The matter being discussed in today's case is an attack outside of Hellfire. For this witness to go on to testify exactly what amount of drugs they found in Mr. Rajon's club, it adds no value or makes any fact more or less likely. It only serves to prejudice the members of the jury against the plaintiff's representative.
So what's your objection?
Improper character evidence, Your Honor.
Okay,
Response, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Your Honor, if I may proffer.
okay,
Your Honor, Mr. Wilt will testify that he found, or rather that those drugs were found on AJ Maloney. The person the plaintiff was alleging was attacked in today's trial. The fact that AJ Maloney could have been on substances, as told by the plaintiff's own witness, Dr. Myers, could impact the extent of their injuries and their aggression.
May I respond, Your Honor?
you may, noting that your time.
Yes, Your Honor. Specifically, that area of testimony, it may be relevant, Your Honor. But testifying that the plaintiff's representative's club was responsible for that, to testify to the extent to which there was drugs within the club, it only serves to prejudice the members of the jury while changing no fact about the actual.
I'm gonna overrule.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Wilt, you were telling us about the drugs you found at the scene?
That's right. We found that there was a concoction of methamphetamines, MDMA, and cocaine that was being sold out of the Hellfire Lounge that was called Hell's. But from what I saw, well, the police didn't follow up on this. It was actually the same drug concoction that we found on the body of one of the individuals involved on the July 20th month,
Which individual did you find those drugs on?
AJ Malone. It's my understanding he was one of the bouncers at the club.
Do you know who else was involved in that altercation on July 20th?
Well, I had heard that an individual known as the Serpent was involved, this local vigilante that goes around fighting crime. I know it sounds straight out of a comic book, but he's actually pretty well known around here. My analysis mostly focused on whether or not the Serpent acted in defense of another individual we identified, Ali Uchida.
Let's shift then to that forensic analysis in today's case. Do you have experience doing forensic analyses in assault cases?
Absolutely. Forensic science can actually be quite helpful to help us determine who might have initiated an attack. I do this kind of work all the time.
What materials did you review in your analysis?
Well, because I was present at the scene the morning after, I was able to review a number of pieces of forensic evidence from the scene, along with reviewing a few exhibits related to this case.
And were those materials sufficient to reach your conclusions?
They were, sir.
What methods did you use?
I used two primary methods of analysis for this case. The first was a blood splatter analysis, which helps me visualize the positioning during an attack. The second was a blood directionality analysis. This tells me more about the movement during the incident.
Well, let's take those one by one. We'll start with the blood splatter analysis. What does this entail?
Well, the splatter analysis, like I mentioned, helps visualize positioning. It's easier to imagine in 3 dimensions if I'd be able to go over there and stand.
Sure, Your Honor, let the record reflect Mr. Wilt is stepping down into the mic. All right, Mr. Wilt, why don't you tell the members of the jury how this blood splatter analysis works?
Of course, when an individual bleeds during an attack, it's no surprise their blood often ends up on the ground. But let's say that there's already a victim on the ground. Ms. Wu, if you could help us out here for a moment.
Of course.
I'll cover your dry cleaning if you could lay down right there, I promise. If an individual's blood were to splatter now, well, Ms. Wu would be covered in that blood. And Ms. Wu, if you could stand up now. There would be a human-sized gap in the splatter on the ground.
Thanks, Ms. Wu, you can retake your seat. Mr. Wilt, what did you find in the blood pattern in today's case?
Well, we found AJ Maloney's blood stain in the alleyway where the attack took place. But in that blood splatter, there was a human-sized gap. That gap matched the shape and size of Ali Uchida.
What did that tell you?
It told me that Mr. Maloney had likely already taken Ali Uchida to the ground by the time that the Serpent attacked him, drawing his blood.
Thank you, Mr. Wilt, you can retake your seat. And let's move then to that second method you told us about, the directionality analysis. Can you tell us about this one?
Of course. But while the blood splatter analysis helps us determine position, the directionality analysis helps us with movement. It can tell us how the parties were moving during the altercation.
Is there a way to determine who may have attacked first in an altercation?
There is. When an attacker is going after a target, they'll often make sudden, swift movements. A blood directionality analysis can help us determine if a subject matches that pattern.
How can you tell that from blood?
Well, it's easiest to imagine if we have a visual reference. Let's say that this table was the ground, and we can use this straw and imagine that it's dropping. When an individual is bleeding, if they're standing still, their blood will fall straight to the ground, creating dotting patterns. But if they're moving, then that blood will fall diagonally, creating streaking.
What did Mr. Maloney's blood directionality look like?
Streaking in all different directions, which told me that AJ Maloney was moving around during this incident, making him the likely initial attacker.
Ultimately, Mr. Wilt, what were you able to conclude about the actions of the Serpent in today's case?
I concluded that rather the serpent's actions were consistent with acting in defense of Ali Lucci, the other individual we identified at the scene. When the serpent began his attack on AJ Maloney, it wasn't the initial one. Rather, he was acting in defense for justice, not malice.
Thank you, Mr. Will. No further questions, Your Honor.
Is there a cross?
Yes, sir.
You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Will. Good afternoon. I just have a couple questions for you on behalf of the plaintiff in today's case. Of course. I want to start with whether or not we can trust your conclusions. Because, sir, you'd agree with me that your conclusions were based on blood splatter analysis, right?
That's correct.
Blood splatter analysis is not foolproof, right?
No, sir, there's a few different conclusions that experts like myself can come to.
Well, this process, it's got some flaws in it, right?
You'd have to be a bit more specific, sir.
Well, sir, just in your experience as an expert on the matter, you'd agree with me that blood splatter analysis, it's got flaws, right?
Well, sure, if you can go into the details, I can talk more.
Well, that's all right, doctor. I just want your clarification that it does have flaws, and it does, right?
That's right, in some instances.
And one of those primary flaws is without a camera or video footage or an witness testimony. You can't say for certain what happened in that alley, right?
That's true. You'd have to ask some of the individuals involved in the altercation.
Well, sir, we'll get to that in just a moment, but to be clear, you didn't review any video footage of this incident, right?
No, sir.
Well, sir, you mentioned you'd have to speak to someone involved in the incident. You're aware who was involved in that incident, right?
I'm aware that AJ Maloney and Ali Uchida were two of the individuals involved.
So, sir, to corroborate your findings, you could have spoken with Ali Uchida, right?
Well, that's right, sir, but my analysis mostly focused on forensic evidence, such as that blood splatter.
But so that was a yes, to corroborate your findings with that blood splatter analysis, you could have spoken with Ali Uchida, right?
In theory, but again, that's typically outside the scope of my work in forensics.
Well, sir, you chose not to speak with Ali Uchida in this case, right?
No, sir, again, that was outside the scope of my work.
In fact, Ali Uchida involved in the incident is someone you have never spoken to a day in your life, right?
That's right.
Well, let's see if we can find out why you may not have gone the extra step to corroborate it. Sir, you're testifying on behalf of Teddy Mothersbaugh, right?
That's right, he hired me about a year ago to look into this.
You're being paid for your work, of course, right?
I am, yes.
And for a typical case like this, you'd be paid roughly $50,000, right? $25,000, apologies, sir.
Approximately, sure, but I've known Teddy since I was young, so I gave him a discount.
That's right, sir. You gave him over $12,000 loan, right?
That's true.
That's because you have a personal relationship with Teddy Mothersbaugh, right?
That's right, like I mentioned, we grew up together, we were on the same wiffle ball team.
That's right, sir. You're on the same wiffle ball team. You've known him for years.
That's right.
He's always been very supportive of you.
He has, yes.
If you had to characterize your relationship for the members of the jury, how would you say your relation is with Teddy Mothersbaugh?
I'd say we're close.
You'd say you're good friends, right?
That's right, sir.
Sir, after results came through that showed that your good friend could have been protecting others, you stopped investigating. True?
Well, I came to my conclusion, sir, and after that, I didn't charge my client anymore. That's right.
Well, sir, after results came through that were good for your good friend, you chose not to speak with a woman involved in the incident that was available. True?
I ended my investigation when I came to my conclusion, sir. Speaking to Mr. Cheetah was outside the scope of my work in forensics.
All right, Doctor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any redirects?
No, Your Honor, yeah, well, it's.
Okay, you're excused.
Hey.
So. For redirects, we're gonna take. I think we have time for like 15 minutes. So if you 15 minutes, what is that? So what do you math? 111, right? What do you say? Yes. When you take feedback and the judges, make sure you now complete the first stage of your knowledge, so just answer. 15 minutes.
You're doing a good job, Your Honor.
Thank you. But I think that we'll-
You might enjoy doing this.
Yeah, it's fun to be able to interact.
Yeah. And I've done it before, so it didn't make a lot of difference to me either way. So if you liked it better, it's good. You can lay in on the ground.
Right.
Oh, shoot, thank you.
We're not supposed to judge on stuff like that.
Good thing I'm not being scored.
I would tell other lawyers it's always encouraged.
Is this everything? This present and ready. To proceed.
As a defense, right?
Okay, does the plaintiff have a witness to call?
We do. Emerson Regime. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Sure. Hi, my name is Emerson Regine.
Mr. Regime, what do you do for a living?
I'm a businessman. I'm the majority shareholder in a company my dad started way back in the day. It's called Regime Corporation. It's not the most original name, I guess.
What does Regime Corporations do?
All kinds of stuff. There's a lot of energy investment we do, some banking. I think we've got a lot of drugstore makeup that's coming out. I say I think because I'm not super involved in the business end. I'm more just a figurehead for the board.
If you're not super involved, what do you spend most of your time doing?
Oh, I do have one passion project. I own this nightclub downtown. It's called the Hellfire Club.
Why'd you buy a dance club?
Oh, when I found it, it wasn't originally a dance club. It was a broken down speakeasy. See, I did some research on it. I found out it had a pretty wild history. The Doors played there, Fleetwood Mac, Joni Mitchell, very like Laurel Canyon. That's the stuff I used to listen to with my dad.
So what'd you do?
I bought it, revamped it. You know, my dad passed away a couple of years ago, so I spend most nights there. Reminds me of him.
Mr. Regime, do you know why you're here today?
Of course. Last year on July 20th, one of the members of my staff was attacked.
His name is AJ Maloney.
Let's focus on Mr. Maloney. What did he do? What did he do for you?
He was a bouncer. He was at the door for us.
Why'd you hire him?
I mean, the kid was a mountain, first of all. That got him in the door. But it was more than that. It was really his story that we connected with. We found out that he lost his parents years ago, and that he was raising his younger brother. So we were happy to give him the work, take him on.
Does he still work for you today?
No. No, after that attack, he's been in a coma for a year.
Do you know who attacked Mr. Maloney?
Yes. It was a masked vigilante named the Soto.
Your Honor, at this point, we'd like to make note of a substantive stipulation. Both parties agree that the serpent is the defendant, Teddy Motors.
Yeah, we agree, no objections to that?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Great.
Let's talk about the defendant, Mr. Mothersbaugh. Do you know him?
Yeah. We actually met years ago at a funeral. See, his parents passed away in a car accident, and it was one of our drivers who was driving, employee of ours. We went to the funeral to pay our respects.
Did you talk to the defendant?
Kinda. He came up to me and he pushed his finger right in my chest. He said, "You took everything from me. I won't rest until you feel the same." Look, at the time, I understood, he was grieving, I've been through it. But it's gone too far now.
What do you mean it's gone too far?
Look, for the past couple of years, I mean, he's been terrorizing my club. He and this girl he's always with, I don't know, maybe it's his girlfriend. They're always coming into our bar, going into staff-only sections, causing trouble. They've even gone on the news and alleged that our bar is the front for a drug empire, which of course it's not.
When was the last time you saw the defendant near your bar?
The last time I saw him near my bar, he was in the alleyway outside. It was the morning that AJ got attacked, just a couple hours before.
What did you see him doing?
Well, I was in my office, right? And I got this big window that looks outside, and the view would be awesome. Unfortunately, it looks right at the dumpsters. So I see him walking by the dumpsters with his backpack on. I watched him reach in, take something metal out of it, it looked like a hammer, put it in the dumpster.
Would you recognize that hammer if I showed it to you?
Yes, I would.
I'm approaching the witness with exhibit 7.
Thank you.
Is that the hammer that you were talking about?
Yeah. This is what I saw him put in the dumpster. I actually went and checked to make sure I didn't see wrong. This was what was laying in there. It's heavier than it looks.
If you saw the defendant put that hammer in the dumpster, let's talk about what happened later that night. When did you notice that something was wrong?
Well, that night, we were having a big staff meeting. Then we heard some movement in the hallway. We open the door and we see that girl who's always with Mother's mom. So I had AJ, our bouncer, take her out of the club.
Did you watch as AJ escorted that young woman out of the club?
I did. Look, granted, I didn't see what happened when they got outside, but I saw him escort her out of the club like he'd done plenty of times before. It was normal. Nothing out of the ordinary, not that I saw.
Mr. Regine, this is important. Did you see Mr. Maloney be violent with her in any way?
No.
So if someone came up here and told the jury he was chasing her around waving a hammer, would that be consistent with what you saw?
Absolutely not. No.
Did you ever see Mr. Maloney holding a hammer?
No. The only person I saw with a hammer that day, it wasn't AJ Maloney. It was Teddy Mother's mom.
Well, when did you see Mr. Maloney again?
It was a couple minutes later. See, I was in my office just doing clerical work, boring stuff. And one of my bartenders comes in and she's running and sobbing. She's totally inconsolable. And I couldn't understand what she was trying to tell me, but she just kept saying, AJ, AJ, AJ. And she was pointing to the alleyway to the side.
What did you do?
Well, I went to the alleyway. I was concerned. And when I got there, I saw AJ on the floor. He was in a bloody hole. He's a big guy, right? I don't know, laying there, he just looked like a kid.
Mr. Regine, I want to give you the chance to respond to some of the allegations opposing counsel has made against you today. Did you hear them say you run a drug empire?
Yes, I heard them say that.
Do you?
No, of course not. Look, I understand that this is nightlife, that there are probably drugs around. I get that, but we're not selling them. I have no reason to. I wouldn't put myself at risk, not my company at risk. I have enough money. I don't need to deal drugs.
Did you hear them say that AJ Maloney was high and aggressive that night?
Yes, I heard them say that too.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't see him take any drugs, and I didn't see him act aggressively at all.
Mr. Regine, do you hate Teddy Mothersbaugh?
I heard them say that too. That's the one thing they got wrong. Look, this is not okay. It's not appropriate. You're not allowed to go out into the streets and take a hammer to someone's head. I know that you and I have a history. And I get that, but you can't take that out on an employee, on a kid.
Thank you, Mr. Regine. I have no further questions at this time. Would opposing counsel like me to leave Exhibit 7 with the witness?
Yeah, sure. Cross your arm.
Yes, you may have something ready.
Mr. Regine, you said the Hellfire Lounge was your passion project, right?
Yes, it's really important.
Were the drugs part of that original passion, or did that come later?
I don't sell any drugs.
Well, you know your employees walk around with drugs on them, right?
Right. Well, see, people bring drugs into the club. It's part of their job to take them off and pat people down.
You remember when the police found a kilo of drugs at the Hellfire Lounge?
I do.
Where was it?
It was in my office. It was in a secret compartment behind a painting.
Behind a painting of what?
It was a painting of me, but we didn't know about the secret compartment when we moved in. We assumed it was the 70s. It was a wild time back then.
I just want to make sure I have that right. There was a kilo of drugs in your office behind a painting of you that you didn't know was there?
Right, it was in a secret compartment.
Okay. You've been here all the trial, right?
Yes,
You heard when both expert witnesses said that AJ Maloney was found with hell dust.
I understand.
You don't dispute that.
No,
You don't dispute that your employees have drugs on them at work.
no, that's part of their job.
You don't dispute that patrons walk in with them.
No, it's nightlife.
But Mr. Regine, you don't run a drug ring, right?
Absolutely not. Why would I?
Let's put that to the side and talk about AJ Maloney for a second, okay?
Okay.
They're not just a bouncer at Hellfire Country Club, right?
What do you mean?
Well, they're also your bodyguard.
Yeah, they do bodyguard work, security, bouncer, all that stuff kind of wrapped into one.
They're your personal assistant.
Yes, absolutely.
And the reason you chose AJ Maloney to be your bodyguard was, well, it's like you said, they're a mountain of a kid.
You're a kid.
And you've seen from experience that AJ is pretty vicious in a fight, right?
Right. Well, sometimes fights break out in the club. It's part of his job to break them up, and yeah, he's real capable.
You agree he's pretty vicious.
Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor, at this point to 404 improper character evidence, if I may be heard.
Okay.
You're using testimony that Mr. Maloney was vicious in some instances as fodder for the fact that he was vicious on the night of July 20th. That's action in conformity therewith and is inadmissible under 404.
Your Honor, we're listening to this testimony to show why Mr. Regine chose AJ Maloney as his bodyguard. This goes to the fact that it's more likely he was running some sort of illicit operation.
Response.
Yes, Your Honor. We already have testimony on the record specifically about why Mr. Regine chose to hire Mr. Maloney, because he was a big kid. Everybody agrees to that. But specifically going into eliciting testimony about how vicious Mr. Maloney was, when the defense's entire contention is that he was drugged out and aggressive that night, they're absolutely using that to show action in conformity therewith. 404 makes that inadmissible.
Your Honor, if I may,
Yes.
my exact question was whether or not he thought AJ was vicious, not if AJ actually was. This is all about his mindset and why he hired him to be his bodyguard.
I think because you're not narrowing it to this particular circumstance, there's an issue, so try to rephrase or move on.
Understood, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just to be clear, sir, you thought that AJ was pretty tough.
Yeah, that was part of his job.
You also thought that AJ was loyal,
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
that AJ followed all of your orders down to the word.
He's a great employee.
Wouldn't be far-fetched to say if you asked AJ to do something, they'd do it.
Every time I did, he did, yeah.
That if you asked AJ to, I don't know, beat someone up for you, they might do it.
Maybe.
I want to talk about Teddy Mothersbaugh a little bit more. Right where you ended on direct examination, that you hate him, right?
Yes. I think it's awful what he did to one of my employees.
I noticed you didn't elaborate on that, so I'd like to take the time to do that now. You actually hate him because every single day he costs you billions of dollars, right?
So a merger is on the table between one of his companies and mine. I understand that he's vetoing the merger.
So that's a yes, every single day he vetoes that merger, he costs you billions of dollars.
Maybe the company, I guess, yeah, sure.
You,
Probably more millions for me, I don't make that much.
sir, he also costs the Hellfire Lounge money.
Sure, he's ruined our reputation. It's like I was saying, he goes out into the news, he's saying we're running this drug run.
Because of his investigative work with Ali Uchida, he's cost you patrons,
Sure, absolutely,
he's cost you permits,
yes,
cost you tens of thousands of dollars.
right, based on those allegations, but they're not true.
Sir, that's why you hate Teddy Mothersbaugh, right?
All that wrapped into one.
So let's talk about what you're doing with that hatred. Now, here today, you're acting as the administrator for the estate of AJ Malone, right?
Right, it's true.
Sir, you volunteered to do this.
No, not exactly.
Well, you're not doing it because you care about AJ Malone's family.
Well, of course I care about his family, but I'm actually contractually obliged to do that. It's one of the perks I give to all of the people who are actually working in my club. If they get in any danger, I'll represent them in a lawsuit.
But what you're not contractually obligated to do is pitch that lawsuit to the estate in the first place.
No,
But you did that here.
yes, of course.
This whole lawsuit, this is all your idea.
Right, it's what I said I was going to do. He got really hurt.
This was your idea. So you could get back at Teddy Mothersbaugh.
That's not why.
Your testimony, you didn't bring this lawsuit to get back at Teddy Mother.
Look, I'm happy to get back at Teddy Mothersbaugh. I'm contractually obliged to be here.
Sir, this lawsuit was your idea.
Yes, of course it was.
You're not contractually obligated to bring lawsuits on behalf of your employees.
No, it's what I tell them I'm going to do. I'm happy to represent them.
If you win this lawsuit, you think that Teddy Mothersbaugh just might get removed as majority shareholder at Mothersbaugh.
Objection, Your Honor, to speculation, if I may be heard.
You may.
This line of questioning requires the witness to speculate about the results in a company that he has no bearing in. Any answer that this witness would give is speculative.
May I respond, Your Honor? Your Honor, whether or not he would actually get removed as the majority shareholder does not matter. I'm asking what he thinks about this because it goes to his motive, why he brought this lawsuit in the first place. His credibility.
Response, Your Honor?
Briefly.
We've got plenty of information on the record about how Mr. Regine feels about Mr. Mothersbaugh. But specifically asking if Mr. Mothersbaugh is going to be removed from a company Mr. Regine's not involved in, that's still speculative in nature and inadmissible.
Yeah, the point of the question is his opinion, not what will actually happen at the company, so it's overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, I'll ask you again, you think if you're successful in this lawsuit, Mr. Mothersbaugh, he might get removed as majority shareholder at Mothers Corporation, right?
Maybe, sure.
That roadblock to your billion-dollar merger is gone.
Maybe if that's how they vote, sure.
You think that if you're successful in this lawsuit, he and Ali Uchida just might stop investigating?
Yeah, I do.
All those mean pieces in the paper, it'd stop coming.
Yes, and they'd stop terrorizing our bar.
You might just make those tens of thousands of dollars back.
Sure, tens of thousands, yeah, I guess.
Sir, if the estate of AJ Maloney is successful today, you benefit,
Yes, I do, of course.
none of it.
There's no time for that, so. This one is excused.
Thank you.
Does the defense have a witness to call?
Yes, Your Honor, the defense calls Eddie Myers.
Okay, you may proceed when you're ready.
Yes, Your Honor. Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Of course. My name is Teddy Mothersbaugh,
Where are you from?
Westfield, 30 minutes outside the city.
I'm just gonna ask you this outright, Mr. Mothersbaugh. Are you the serpent?
Yes, I am.
Let's explore that a little bit more, okay? What was your life like growing up in the city?
It wasn't easy. I spent most of my childhood moving from one distant family member to the next. My parents died when I was 11.
How did they die?
Mr. Regime would like to think that it's a car accident. It was murder. Saw it with my own eyes. I watched as the semi-truck crashed into my parents' car without slowing down. The men driving worked for his mother, who was running against my Meyer. I told the police what I saw. No one believed.
Sir, what happened? Were they charged?
No.
You mentioned that you moved around a lot. Can you tell us where?
Everywhere I wasn't wanted. The wealthy aren't exactly known for putting others for themselves. I had no family to care for me, to raise me, or teach me the things that I really needed to know. I certainly didn't help being the problem child that I was.
Why?
I got into fights. Part of it, I assume, was call for help, desire for the attention I didn't have. But I think another part of it was being for others what I never had, a protector.
As you grew up, what did you learn from your experience as a child?
The world never changed. They always talked about going to the real world, but it wasn't really much different. Crime continued. Politicians either broke their promises or forgot them. People started offering me drugs, and I would have fallen for it. I had a dear friend of mine not overdosed. That's when I decided that it was time for me to do what no one else wanted to. Stand up for those who couldn't protect themselves.
But Mr. Mothersbaugh, why the serpent? Why did you choose to become a vigilante?
I need the anonymity to protect those close to me. I needed force because nothing else worked. Now, I don't use weapons. I don't harm for sport. But I do use force if I have to.
Let's move on and talk about why you're here. Did you incapacitate AJ Maloney on July 20th of last year?
Yes,
Why?
defense of myself and of someone I cared about.
Who?
Ali Uchida.
I want to talk about who that is. Who is Ali Uchida to you?
Well, she's my partner. I've known her a long time, and she's the only person who would risk her safety for others to the extent that I would.
What makes you say that?
Well, she's a journalist, a pretty good one at that. She puts herself on the line time and time again to uncover evidence on the city's preeminent drug ring, which is run through the Hellfire Lounge. Her and I would go to the police repeatedly with evidence on the Hellfire Lounge, now on Emerson Regime.
What happened when the two of you went to the police with information on the Hellfire Lounge and Emerson Regime?
Nothing. The police did nothing. They were either nervous or they were angry. After that, I decided to focus my efforts towards unearthing Regine's drug ring and figuring out why the police were so scared of his name. That's why I was at Hellfire on July 20th.
What happened at the lounge that night?
At first, I was in the alley, high in one of the buildings conducting surveillance. I was hoping to catch a drug drop in action.
Did you see anything?
Yes, AJ Maloney came to the Hellfire Lounge early that evening.
Before we continue, how did you know AJ Maloney?
Based on my research, AJ Maloney was Mr. Regine's chief enforcer and bodyguard. I'd seen them together countless times, and AJ was always on Mr. Regine's side.
So what else did you see on July 20th?
Later that night, AJ came back into the alley. But this time with Adam. He threw her to the ground and started to attack her. So I sprinted down from the fire escape as fast as I could. I just hoped it was fast enough.
Sir, was AJ Maloney attacking Allie with anything?
Yes. That weapon was in the dumpster. Mr. Regine said I put it there. I want to be clear. I don't use weapons. The very first martial arts instructor I ever had taught was Kung Tao, Indonesian Kung Fu. Told me the hands were your best weapons. And I still believe that.
You mentioned that you ran down to try to break up the altercation, sir. Did you make it in time?
Barely. When I arrived, AJ was standing over Allie with that hammer in hand, just like the expert said earlier. I kept up my sprint and I rammed it. The next few minutes are a bit of a blur. We're trading blows back and forth. I tried to get the weapon out of AJ's hands. I managed to get him away from Allie, but I was having a hard time holding my. It was blow after blow, but eventually we came to some sort of turning point.
What do you mean?
AJ let up his guard, split second. And in that split second, I was able to get that hammer out of his hand. And in one desperate attempt to finally put an end to this fight, I swung at him hard. He went down and he didn't get back.
So what did you do?
Yeah, I could barely stand myself. I was bleeding from my face and my arm. It was all I could do to put Allie over my shoulder, get her to safety.
Did you do anything else that night?
Yes, I cleaned myself up the best I could and got to the hospital as soon as possible. I wanted to see if Allie was okay, but I also wanted to make sure that AJ was stable. I had a feeling he would be there.
What did you learn?
He was in a coma.
Mr. Mothersbaugh, did you intend to put AJ Maloney in a coma on the night of July 20th?
No. I intended to protect Allie from any further harm. Mr. Regine called it inappropriate, that it was not okay. And I agree that what AJ did was inappropriate and it was not okay. But I was not willing to stand by while he beat my girlfriend. I was afraid she would lose her life.
Thank you for your time today, sir. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Cross? Please proceed when you're ready.
Mr. Mothersbaugh, you say you'd do anything in the pursuit of justice.
Of course I would.
That includes lying, right?
If it protects those close to me, yes.
Well, like I told the members of the jury earlier, you admit you're the serpent.
I am.
You've been been lying about that for years.
Like I said earlier, I needed the anonymity to protect myself and people I know.
We don't talk about Adam. That's your partner, right?
Yes,
Love her very dearly.
of course I did.
Been dating for a while.
Yes,
Didn't tell her you were the serpent until July 20th of 2024.
no, I know how that looks. But you have to understand that this job is dangerous.
I'm not talking about how it looks, I'm asking what you did. And you didn't tell your partner that you were the serpent until July 20th of 2024.
I did not.
For the majority of your relationship, you were lying to the person that you love.
I had to.
You lied before him, and Mr. Motherspaw, you'd lie again.
If I had to protect her, yes.
You'd say you've lied to anyone in the pursuit of justice.
Of course.
Well, Mr. Motherspaw, I want to talk about what your idea of justice actually is. Because I know that you're saying that's what you stand for, but if we're being honest, Mr. Motherspaw, you don't believe in the law.
I think that the law was written by those who seek to protect themselves in this city.
My question was a simple yes or no. You don't believe in the law.
No,
You don't think it applies to you.
the law doesn't protect those that need to be protected.
You don't think the law applies to you.
In this situation, no.
Mr. Mothersbaugh, you'll do whatever you can to get justice, even if it breaks the law.
Absolutely.
You'll do things that other people won't.
Someone has to.
You'll hurt people
If they're hurting others, yes.
because you believe the things that you do, they're in the name of the greater good.
I believe that. Every fiber who I am.
So that's a yes to my question. You believe the things that you do, they're in the name of the greater good.
Yes,
Well, let's talk about some of the things that you like to do in the name of the greater good. In April of 2024, you assaulted a cop.
I did.
And that assault, it wasn't just a slap or a punch, was it?
No, it was not.
You broke both of that police officer's arms, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you don't just threaten cops, do you?
No,
You actually threatened the attorney that deposed you for this trial.
excuse me?
You'd recognize a copy of your deposition if I showed it to you?
Of course I will.
Do you mind opening that binder, finding the deposition labeled with your name on it?
With pleasure.
And if I could get you to turn to line 154, please let me know if you got me there.
I'm there.
And that's your deposition, you recognize it?
Yes, it is.
Name at the front, signature at the back.
Yes.
Please read along silently as I read aloud. Lines 153, question. Would you say what you saw on July 20th, 2024 pissed you off? Answer. Yes, definitely. It was hard to stay under control that day. Question. Are you angry right now? Answer. Keep asking stupid questions and you'll find out. Question. Is that a promise? Answer. It's a threat. I read that right, didn't I, Mr. Mothersbaugh?
Objection, Your Honor, to attorney testifying, if I may be heard.
Yes.
Your Honor, opposing counsel misread the last two lines of that deposition. It does not say, is that a promise? It's a threat. The question was, is that a threat? Mr. Mothersbaugh said, it's a promise.
I agree. We're gonna strike that last part from the record.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Read it again.
I've had you reread it. Line 157, question, is that a threat? Line 158, answer, it's a promise. I read that correctly, didn't I, Mr. Mothersbaugh?
Yes, you did.
Well, with that in mind, let's talk about what happened on July 20th of 2024. You were at the Hellfire Lounge.
Yes, I was.
It said you saw one of the bodyguards attacking your girlfriend, Alan.
Yes.
You said you attacked Mr. Maloney in defense of your girlfriend.
As I said earlier, he was on top of her and about to strike her with that hammer.
Mr. Mothersbaugh, I'm just trying to clarify what you told the members of the jury. You told them that you attacked that bodyguard in defense of your girlfriend, didn't you?
Yes.
Well, then, let's figure out if that's actually true. Because you told the members of the jury that when you attacked Mr. Maloney, you picked up a hammer and you hit him with it, didn't you?
After an extensive fight where he was trying to use it against me, I managed to get it out of his hand And you should get.
I'm not asking about the extensive fight, I'm asking whether or not it happened, you'd agree with me, you ended up hitting Mr. Maloney with a hammer, yes or no?
Yes,
Mr. Mothersbaugh, when you left your partner at the hospital that night, she didn't have any broken bones.
no,
No,
but she was
this,
covered in bruises and cuts.
my question was specifically about broken bones, none of which she had.
No,
No dislocations,
no,
no concussions.
no,
But AJ Maloney, the person you attacked, he hasn't left the hospital, has he?
no. He hasn't.
He's sitting in a coma right now.
Yes, he is.
Well, I wanna figure out why you're here today. Because during your conversation earlier, you told us a lot about what you think of Mr. Regine.
Yes, I did.
I wanna make sure that the members of the jury have the full extent of your relationship with him. You think he's evil.
For what he's done to the city. I do.
And you won't stop till Mr. Regine is gone.
I don't stop. No one will.
Now you're sitting here telling the members of the jury that he runs a drug ring out of his club.
Because he does.
Okay, Mr. Mothersbaugh, no further questions.
For 4 seconds,
Don't think there's any, I just asked Mr. Mothersbaugh.
you're excused.
And Your Honor, with that, the defense rests.
Okay, so, trial's concluded, let's take a few minutes to fill out that second page of the form. And then once you're done filling out that page, go ahead and submit, and just give me a thumbs up.
No.
Alright, maybe we can take just like a couple of minutes to give some maybe 1 or 2 pieces of feedback for the competitors, and then we can release you all to prep for round 3. Would you like to start, Asia?
Oh my goodness, so difficult. They're both really great, and I think you guys did a good job at like planning out the backstory and being prepared for your questions. So, great job.
I'm always impressed. You were here last year.
Yeah, but I was not competing. I was watching.
Okay, but I see some familiar faces, but I don't want anybody to take that wrong. I'm not prejudiced one way or the other, but some of the competitors come back. And I mean this very sincerely. I think everyone who does these competitions does an excellent job. And I guess we've got the filter so that we're at the point where we're seeing the people who are supposed to be the best of the people, but you fill the bill. And so you should all feel very proud of yourselves. And my hope is that you'll take it to heart. And if it's something that you